Okay, looks like the number of participants has leveled off. So welcome everybody. You'll see we have a few new faces with us this evening. We have Peter Palmiato, who's suddenly got shy and gotten off camera. He is our director of marketing, and we have Brandy Rowan, who is our director of sales. And of course, everybody knows Mike, our chairman and founder, and then Kathy, our CEO and founder as well. So again, welcome everybody. We're going to go through a couple exciting, some very exciting news this evening. We're going to talk about some new suites we've created on board Lumina. These are two-bedroom suites. We've gotten a lot of calls for two-bedroom suites. So we've taken our penthouse deck, which is deck 11, and we've created some 1,080 square foot suites and some 1,440 square foot suites. Both of those are two-bedroom suites. So we're going to see those shortly. We'll get into it. So just a quick overview of Avora, because I know a lot of you, this is your first time joining us, but we did have a webinar a month ago when we went through kind of the history of the Navigator and why we chose that as the ideal platform to build Lumina out of. And we went through a lot of details. So we wanted to keep it fresh, keep it new, and keep it kind of geared towards these new suites and the itinerary, which we have just completed for the first year. But just a brief overview. So there'll be about 240 private residences on board Lumina. It's going to be high end. It's going to be a premium residential ship. We're going to launch in January of 2028 out of Lisbon, Portugal. That's after a dry dock where we're going to convert the ship in Lisbon. It's an all-inclusive type lifestyle. So you're not going to be nickel and dimed the way you are on a cruise ship. You're going to be able to access all the amenities. All the restaurants are included. All your beverages are included. So it's truly all-inclusive. The main difference between how we operate, and that includes both the Odyssey, which is already sailing, and then the Lumina, which we're talking about this evening, is that we spend 2 to 4 days in port. So those of you that are avid cruisers like myself, you know that the biggest complaint out of any cruiser on any cruise line, any itinerary, doesn't matter. It's always the short port stays, right? It's the 8 hours in port, rushing off the ship, getting on a bus, rushing back before the ship leaves. We've come up with a much more civilized way to see the world. And that is by staying 2 to 4 days in each port. And it gives you a time to really get to know the area that you're visiting. Lets you get immersed in the local cuisine, the local community, you get to know the culture. It's just a much more relaxed way to visit all of these wonderful places that these ships stop at. So this is what we really wanted to talk about tonight. We've introduced two new suites, as I mentioned. And this is the Celestial. And this is a two-bedroom suite. And this will be built basically from ground up on the 11th deck. And as you can see, it's a two-bedroom suite.
Chris, are you meaning to share something?
Oh, yeah, it's sharing on my screen.
I don't see anything you're showing.
Huh. Okay. Wonder why that is.
I don't know.
It says I am sharing.
Can anyone else see it? I can't see anything.
Yes,
I can only see
yes,
you.
we were seeing it just fine.
Okay.
I see it.
Good. Glad to know it's Mike and not me.
Okay.
You had me worried there, Mike. Okay, so yes, this is the Celestial Suite. Like I say, these are going to basically be built brand new. 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, two very large walk-in closets. I mean, this is really going to feel more like a luxury condo in Miami Beach than it's going to feel like. It's not going to feel anything like a cruise ship cabin. About 1,080 square feet. For those of you that use meters, that's about 100 meters. Again, penthouse deck 11, so it's on the top floor of the ship. You can see the pricing there. These are going to have very large verandas. These will be about 30 to 36 feet wide, these verandas. You'll have a very nice living and dining room. I mentioned the walk-in closets. You'll have dedicated butler service because why not, right? And these are customizable. So we'll have a couple of different color palettes to choose from. And you can kind of put your own touches onto these suites if you prefer to do so. And then there's the renderings of the interior. There's that living area that I mentioned, and then you can see the bedrooms on either side. Nice, large, modern bathrooms, not like your typical cruise ship bathrooms.
I'm seeing in the comments that people are saying they can't see the screen. They can only see a small picture up top, and I can only see you, Chris. I can't see his presentation, so I don't know. Peter, can you see the presentation?
I think it's I think it's the setting up top. If you hover over the settings, some of them say standard side-by-side speaker, side-by-side gallery. If you want, put shared
Oh,
content only, and perhaps you'll be able to see the
I
presentation.
see.
A lot of
All
it,
right.
it's on the user side. It's how you set up your view.
I was able to change it, so now
There you
okay.
go. There you go. Now
Did that
people are
change?
starting to see it as well.
Okay, very good.
Okay. I think when Mike changed it, it changed it for everyone. This
Ah,
is his Zoom. Okay.
got it. Got it. Okay, glad we got through that.
All right. Sorry for
So,
the little hiccup.
no, not a big deal.
Everybody can see now. All right. Continue. Maybe you want to go one page back, so because people were
Yes.
distracted by the little blip.
Yeah. There we go. Back to the horizon. Okay, now that we've got the technical difficulties worked out, yes, so this suite's about 1,440 square feet, and again, about 133 meters, 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Again, penthouse deck 11, even larger veranda than the Celestial. This will be about 50 to 60 feet wide, depending upon which residence. So we're very excited about these. We were really surprised, actually, at the amount of requests we got for 2 bedroom residences on the ship. A lot of families have made inquiries. They want to join us on the ship. And then a lot of couples are buying residences either with another couple, with other family members, whatever it might be. So there was really a lot of demand for 2 bedroom suites. So it's taken a little while to design these, but here they are. And this is very exciting for us. There's the interior photos, the interior renderings, I should say, of the Horizon Suite. So let's talk about monthly fees for a second. People always ask, what's included in the monthly fees? And the short answer is what's not included. I mean, basically your entire day, your entire life on the ship is covered by the monthly fees, with the exception of a spa treatment or salon treatment. And when you compare this to your expenses on land, you know, if you have a home that you're managing, utilities, property taxes, maintenance, and then you're traveling, right? So you've got flights, hotels, you've got dining, you've got logistics, packing and unpacking. So this simplifies your life considerably. And this is just a list. This isn't even all of them, but this is a short list of what's included in the monthly fees. So it's a predictable single fee that you pay a month, and it kind of covers your entire existence on board the ship. So the other thing we're very excited to share with you this evening is the inaugural itinerary. This is obviously itineraries need to be pre-planned, right? So we're planning this in advance. We're going to get the first year planned out, and then as we get closer to launch, we're going to put together an owners group, a residents group, and we're going to rely on their input for the second year's itinerary and all subsequent itineraries, right? Because it's all about the owners. So if they have destinations they want to see, events that they want to go to, we're going to use their input to create the itineraries after this first year. But this is a great itinerary in and of itself. We actually have some members on our team that put together the itineraries, and they have both worked for some of the largest cruise lines. So they are very familiar with, I wouldn't say all the ports in the world, but many of the ports in the world. So they put together a fantastic itinerary, and we're very happy to share it tonight. This is the debut of it. Nobody has seen it so far outside of the company. So here we go. Oh, yeah, 1 year. It's 55 plus ports, a total of 52,000 nautical miles, and all 7 continents, including Antarctica, which is one place I've never been. So I am looking forward to that. Leg one. So like I mentioned before, we're going to sail out of Lisbon. You can see there some of the stops we're going to make on down to the Caribbean. We're going to go through these fairly quickly because we don't want to bore you with slides. One event that we're very excited about is the 2 ships, Odyssey and Lumina, meeting in Barranquilla. And that'll be a 4-day stop over there. Obviously, we'll spend a little bit of time in the Caribbean, some of the great places down there in the Caribbean. One of my favorite places, Grand Cayman. And then, of course, we're going to transit the Panama Canal. So anybody who hasn't done that yet, it's very impressive. It's it's an amazing thing to see. We're going to fast forward here a little bit because we're going to go up the west coast of the United States, right? West coast of Mexico, west coast of the United States. We're going to head up to Alaska. We're going to spend 10 days in Alaska. And again, there's so much to see in Alaska. I've only been to a few of the ports in Alaska, and I absolutely loved it. So once we complete the leg 3, which is the Alaska itinerary, we're going to do the Trans-Pacific sailing to Japan. It's called the Great Northern Route. And it's, you can see at the bottom on board, we're going to have, Japanese language, culture, and etiquette evenings. We're going to be teaching people about the destinations we're going to. We're just not going to pull up and you get off the ship. You're going to know a little bit about the cuisine. You're going to know a bit about the culture, the etiquette, because we're going to see a lot of different countries, a lot of different cultures, and a lot of different, I don't know what you call it. I guess etiquettes. Leg 5. So obviously Japan, we're going to head north. Shanghai and Hong Kong. 2 other places I haven't been, but fascinating places to see. And you're getting a very short overview. Obviously, we can't list all the ports because we'd be here for hours. But I think it's important to point out that these are 2 to 4 day stays in port. And so when you're in Shanghai, when you're in Hong Kong, it's not run off the ship and try to see what you can in a day and rush back to the ship. So you can really get immersed in these places that we visit. French Polynesia, one of the most beautiful places in the world. So much to see, so many great islands to see. The Odyssey was there a couple of months ago, and the photos that the residents were posting online were absolutely spectacular. So I know a lot of people who have not been there will really enjoy that portion of that first year's itinerary. Antarctica. That's very exciting. Another place I've never been. Obviously a beautiful place. And penguins, which I've never seen in a while. So looking forward to that. But as it says, unlike anywhere else on Earth. So very exciting part of the trip. A little side note about the Navigator, which we're going to convert into the Lumina, is it was actually partially built to be an ice cutter. And it was later sold to a shipbroker that sold it to the predecessor of Regent Seven Seas Cruises, and they built the Navigator. So it's a double steel hull, and it does have polar capabilities. These are some of the events that we call them anchor events, right? So they're events taking places in these places when we are going to be there. We partially design the itinerary around these. I won't go through all of them. You can see the Panama Canal Transit, the 10 days in Alaska, cherry blossoms in Japan. So lots to discover. That's the first 7 and the second 7. And again, there's a great French Polynesian festival that the ship will be at. Humpback whale swim. That's what our itinerary planners tell me it is. I don't know if I want to swim with whales, but we'll give it a shot. Easter Island, which is supposed to be amazing. And then, of course, like I mentioned before, Antarctica. And then the Falkland Islands as well. So this kind of summarizes 1 year, 1 ship, 1 world. We're not going to see the entire world, but we're going to get a really good start on it. And remember, this is just the first year's itinerary. And like I said, we have to plan this in advance. We have to arrange, logistics, port stops, provisioning the ship, that kind of stuff. So it's got to be planned fairly well in advance. So not a lot of input from owners on this one, but on subsequent itineraries, we'll rely very heavily on the owner's input, where we go, how much time we spend there. I put these on there because these are some of my ideas of things, of events that I want to attend. So Monaco Grand Prix, Cannes Film Festival, Carnival in Rio, New Year's in Sydney Harbor. I think these would be amazing places to see. And I'm hoping in subsequent itineraries we attend all of these events. We really want to make Lumina not just a destination-oriented voyage. I mean, the destinations are great. The variety of destinations, the different cultures, the different countries is great. But we also want to make it very experiential. So it's, going to these places is great, but if you can go to Monaco during the Grand Prix, that's amazing, right? Cannes, beautiful. Film festival is supposed to be a great time. I've been to Mardi Gras, but I have not been to Carnival. I understand it's a step up from Mardi Gras. And then, of course, the famous New Year's in Sydney Harbor. So just like, again, very experiential, not just about the destinations, but about the experiences once you get there. So I told you we'd keep it short, and we did. So we're going to open it up for questions. And Peter, you going to read the chat questions?
Let me come off mute. Excuse me. So one of the chat questions we've got going on, we've kind of answered that. First one was who decided on the first year's itinerary. If you want to just touch on that real quick again.
Yes, yeah. So we have these itinerary specialists who are very familiar with many of the ports in the world. And, we obviously it's somewhat dependent upon the launch in January of 28, launching out of the Mediterranean, which we'd love to spend a lot of time in the Mediterranean on this particular voyage, but it's winter, so it's not quite as an attractive a destination in January as it would be in spring or summer. So we're going to head south to the warm weather. That's one of the other things I should mention about these voyages for both the Odyssey and Lumina. We try to keep the ships in very moderate climates, not too hot, not too cold. We want to keep that number of pool days up. So, and then of course, as you're out exploring these wonderful destinations, it's much more fun to do it in nice weather.
You kind of answered the second question that kind of goes along with that about itinerary. Let's get into a finance question. What is the lowest price cabin available? And I guess that comes along nicely with the introduction of the new suites. Where are we getting in on these cabins?
Okay. So yeah, we showed you the 2 newest ones, which I mentioned are the 2 bedrooms, so some of the largest suites on board. But we have residences that start about 300 square feet, beautiful studios with walk-in closets, full bathrooms. And those start about 565,000 for a window residence. And then for that same residence with a balcony jumps up to about 860,000.
Okay, next one is, will you finance my suite?
We don't really provide any financing, but we do offer um, staggered deposits, right? Since we have this 20-month plus time horizon before we launch, we don't expect anybody to write a check for the entire amount up front. So we break it down into 4 easily manageable 25% payments. First one due at signing, last one due in July of 2027.
Okay, that kind of, next question kind of follows along. I'm kind of keeping these in uh categories. So, what's needed to buy a suite? Down payment, that sort of thing, contracts.
Okay, yes. So once you've kind of targeted the size of suite that you'd like to look at, we'll send you a proposal, a couple different decks. We'll allow you to kind of give us some input as far as you want a lower deck, a higher deck, you want the forward part of the ship, midships, aft part of the ship. Everybody has their own preferences when it comes to where your residence is located on board. Just as on cruise ships, everybody's got their preferences on where they want their cabin to be located when they get on a cruise ship. So we do have some. Let me put this the other way. So as far as window suites, those are only available on 5 and 6, decks 5 and 6. For the veranda residences, the smallest veranda residences, those are available on deck 6 as well, and then all the way up through deck 10. So you've got some options there. 3 of the floors are exclusively residences. So you can literally have forward, midships, or aft on those decks. Several of the other decks, you can either have forward or aft, or on some just forward. But there are options there. And we're able to accommodate most people's preferences when it comes to location of your residence.
Next one I've seen a lot of, dogs, cats. What's the pet policy?
Well, it's I get a lot of requests. I get a lot of emails. We all do. Everybody in the team does. And it's a question that comes up a lot. We do a lot of video chats with prospective clients, and we kind of go through a much more detailed presentation than what we're doing now. And people always ask, they always say, I've got a dog, I've got a cat, can I bring them? And I always feel bad because I have to say no, but we're all animal lovers. Everybody on this is on this team tonight. We're all animal lovers. We all either have pets or have had pets. But there's so many regulations in the world that vary from country to country. They change, even the same countries change their regulations. And so it's just very complicated to be traveling the world and stopping in all of these ports with any pets on board. And actually, when we originally decided to convert Lumina, we talked about having dogs on board because there's cats on Odyssey. So we thought it'd only be fair to have cats on Odyssey and dogs on Lumina. But then, as we looked into it more, we decided that it's just too complicated. It's actually going to eliminate some potential port stops because of the local regulations. So at the end of the day, we just decided it's just simpler and better for everyone on board if there are no pets. So.
Here's a good one. Staying connected with home. Am I able to make video calls from the ship?
Yes, we will have the latest and greatest Starlink on board Lumina. And so it's a great system if anybody's ever used it. If you haven't, it's very much like having your standard Wi-Fi connection at home. And it's much better than what you'll find in many cruise ships. I know that another large complaint about cruise ships in general is that the Wi-Fi kind of goes in and out and works some days and it doesn't work some days. Obviously, no system is perfect, but we find the Starlink to work extremely well. In addition to that, if you're doing video calls for work, we are going to have a state-of-the-art business center. So there will be workstations, there will actually be private offices available. And so it's going to be in a quiet place of the ship. So people who are going to work from on board, will be able to do so. And that's another question we get a lot, because we do have a lot of digital nomads that are going to join us on the ship. They need a place to work. They want to be able to work from the ship. It will allow them to spend more time on the ship, more days on the ship, if they can work from the ship. So we are actually going to remove the casino. So anybody who was hoping for a casino, I hate to say we're not going to have one of those. And we're removing a few shops, and we're going to build a beautiful business center that's also very functional.
Um, here, here's two good ones I like. Well, not that I like, matters what I like. Can you only join the ship in certain ports? And kind of following along with that, how does somebody obtain the visas for all these countries?
Okay. So let's answer the visa question. We will have a concierge on board and resident services who can help you with your visas. Depending upon what country of residence you are currently in, where you're a citizen of. Obviously, the visa rules are different for many countries. But we do have people on board with a vast knowledge of visas that are required, and they can help you obtain the visas when needed. And then, as far as getting on and off the ship in ports, yes and no. I mean, yes, it's your home, so you're welcome to embark and disembark at your leisure. But it is subject to local regulations. I haven't encountered any port yet that won't let you just determine that you're going to get off the ship and maybe take a little side trip. But I'm sure they're out there. So we just put this little caveat that, subject to local regulations, you should be able to disembark and embark at your leisure. And just a little more on the fact that it's your home. One of the other questions that we get quite often is, can you sell your residence? Yes. Can you let friends and family use your residence? Yes, absolutely. Can you rent it out when you're not on board? Yes. In fact, we anticipate most of the rentals that are available will be consumed by other owners, because if you have a 300-foot residence or 500 or 700-foot residence, and you have friends and family that want to join you on board, you might not want them in your residence. So you will have the option to rent available residences for those friends and family at a discounted rate. So we don't really want to get to a point where we're advertising rentals on the open market. So we really believe that the rentals that are available will, like I said, they'll be used up by the other owners on board. We do have some owners that don't want to rent out their units when they're not there. They just want to keep their stuff there and not worry about it. But if you are an owner, and we realize not everybody's going to spend 365 days a year on the ship. So if you're there for 6 months or 9 months or 4 months, you have that option to rent out the residence when you're not on board. If you're kind of wondering what the rental rates will be if you want to rent out your unit, obviously we can't guarantee that. But if you were to look at what it costs to be on the Navigator today as a cruise ship, now granted, it's a wonderful ship. The service is phenomenal. The cuisine is excellent. It's still a cruise ship. It still only spends 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours in some ports, whereas we're going to spend 2 to 4 days, which we feel is much more attractive to people that want to see these destinations that we're going to. But if you look at what it costs to be on the Navigator today, even in the smallest window suite, you're paying somewhere between $500 and $750 per person to be on the ship. So we anticipate not only that the the rentals will be consumed, but we feel that the prices will go a long way. The rental income will go a long way to offset your monthly fees.
Okay, another good one I like is what makes you different from the other cruise lines with the same opportunities?
Okay. I'm gonna go on a limb and guess somebody's asking about world cruises when you say other opportunities. Which is a great question because those, cruise lines are increasing the amount of world cruises that they offer. They're extending the length of the world cruises. When they first came out with the world cruise concept, they were 70 days, 90 days. Then they jumped up to 120, 140. And now I've seen world cruises of 180 days, 220 days. So it's not really a direct comparison because, again, when you're on a cruise ship, you're in a cabin. It's not really geared towards long-term living. You're not customizing it towards your own preferences. You're not making it feel like a home. And as mentioned, you're still, I mean, even on your longest world cruises, even on the Navigator, on their, or on Regent, I should say, even on their world cruises, on a 180-day cruise, you may only have 2 overnights, maybe 3 overnights. And the rest are either short port days or sea days. So it's really it's a different animal altogether.
Can I jump in and say a couple things as well?
Of course.
What makes it different is also in the fact of the flexibility of coming and going. Usually, when the other world cruises, they have a fixed itinerary, fixed plan, and like Chris mentioned, a fixed cabin. You can't upgrade your cabin, you can't update it, you can't add your own. It comes as is, and you can't touch it. Whereas this is more like your home, your second home, where you're flexible enough to, put your own furniture, dress it up as you like. But most importantly is that you can hop on and off the ship at any time. So, let's say a world cruise is 180 days. That's it. That's all you're going to get. And you're not allowed to come. You're usually not allowed to come and go as you please. For us, because it's a model where you're living on the ship, you can come and go as you please, and we help you with the cabotage laws and things like that. We help you with boarding. Our itineraries usually have anchored ports versus dock ports. So we facilitate with the resident services which are the best ports to get on and off so that you can, either do other overland excursions and meet the ship at a later date, or maybe you want to go visit family, maybe you want to go back to the States for whatever reason. I mean, the flexibility of it all is what it is, right? It's your home, that cabin is yours. You get to leave stuff there, leave and come back as you please. I think that's one of the biggest things that's different from the regular model that you get for other lines. So we're a residential cruise model, not just a cruise. I hope that helps a little bit.
No, great points, Kathy. Thank you. And I think one thing we haven't touched on yet, but we should, when you're on a residential ship, and we see this on Odyssey, there's really a community that forms. You're not on a cruise with a bunch of strangers that in 10 days or 7 days or 14 days, everybody's going to go their separate ways and you probably never see these people again. If you live in a community on land, maybe you live in a country club, or you just live in a small community in a suburb somewhere, a lot of your neighbors. You go to the neighborhood events, the parties, the barbecues, whatever they are. And on a cruise, you don't really get that sense of community, but on a residential ship, you do, because these are your neighbors. And you find people to go on excursions with and go on adventures with. And you find people to have meals with, to walk on deck with, or to play pickleball, or to play to go to the golf simulator, whatever it might be, whatever your day is going to consist of, you have a community around you that has similar interests. You're a community of like-minded adventurers. So you share a lot in common and you really get to know everybody. And like I say, it becomes a community. Everybody's very supportive. So I mean, there's 100 reasons that it's not like a cruise, even a world cruise. These are just some of them. But I think these are the main reasons. And these are the ones that really differentiate a cruise from being on a residential ship.
Okay. Next one is come from a lot of people. Let's see. Are the monthly fees the same for all cabins?
No, so actually there's two parts to the monthly fee. There is the what we call the maintenance fee, and that's what handles the operation of the ship, the crew salaries, your laundry, your housekeeping, those types of things. And that's actually based upon the square footage of your residence. So yeah, the maintenance fee goes up as the size of your residence increases. That's part one. Part two is the food and beverage and port charges. That's a standard amount because just because you live in a bigger residence doesn't mean you're going to have more meals or, have more bottles of wine. So the food and beverage and port charges for a purchase on the ship is $3,000 a month. But keep in mind that covers all of your meals. That covers in-residence dining. That covers fresh made, barista made coffees in the morning, bottled water, wine, beer, premium spirits. Another question we get asked a lot, what's the difference between a premium spirit and a non-premium spirit? If you like good whiskey, good scotch, good bourbon, it's probably on our premium spirits list. If you want to get a snifter of Louis XIII cognac, you're probably going to have to come out of pocket for that. So, but if you've been on a cruise ship and you've gotten a drink package, they're pretty all inclusive. There's some very high end spirits and wines and beers on those drink packages, and we're really going to match what's available on the Navigator now. And of course, again, that's a 6-star ship, so that $3,000, all your meals, cocktails, wine, beer, port charges, everything's in there. So we add those together, that becomes your monthly fee. And again, a big portion of that is based upon residence size.
Okay. Guests. How many guests can I have?
Okay, so that's really going to depend again upon the size of your residence. So obviously 2 people minimum in even the smallest residence. And will always be within the bounds of the regulations at sea, which determine how many guests you can have on board the ship, right? Because the ship currently holds 500 people when it's full, 500 guests, I should say. What we found on the Odyssey is that about half of the residents are occupied by couples, and then half the residences are occupied by solo travelers, solo residents, I should say, in this case. So if that same ratio holds true on Lumina, and we believe it will, then at any given time, we'll have about 300 to 350 residents on board. So we'll be well below that 500 person threshold that is currently the standard on Navigator. So yes, so you will be able to have guests. And again, depending upon the size of your residence and how large the sofa is with the sofa sleeper, it's going to determine if you're going to have 2, 3, 4 in your residence. And then of course, in the 2-bedroom residences, 2 bedrooms. I mean, if you want to get extra people in there, there'll be some sofa sleepers, but Yeah, it's pretty flexible, but there's got to be a place for everybody to sleep. That's what the rules of the sea say. And then there's got to be, space on the lifeboats and things, but we'll have plenty of that, like I say, because we're not going to have a full complement of residents on board that or an equal complement of people that they currently have on the Navigator is a better way to put that.
Okay. How many residences are sold?
So I have to recalculate that because we just converted all these residences. Let me give you a percentage. We're approaching about 15%. And that number percentage wise has changed also because we started out with about 252 residences, and as we combined suites, both the ones we've talked about tonight, the two bedrooms, and then also the ones that have been combined already that people have requested to combine. It will probably end up with somewhere between 230 and 240 total residences when everything is said and done. So, and I actually, the reason I don't like to give out an exact number because we have people that follow the amount of sold residences and reserved residences. And unfortunately, we had a woman who had bought 2 suites and so we marked them sold on our deck plans. And then she got very ill and she called us up and asked if we would basically refund her money, which of course we did. And that changed the count and we put those back as available. And within a couple of hours of putting them back as available, I got a call from this person and they were saying, "Oh, you're playing with the number of sold suites and this and that and yada yada yada." And so uh we're a better way to put that is we're averaging 1 to 2 residences sold per week. And given that we have a 21 time horizon to sell out, we're well on our way. And we expect that 1 to 2 residents average per week to only go up.
Okay. Here's a good question. Keep saying that over and over again. How do the residents pick the next itineraries?
Yeah, that is a good question. So, when we form an owners group on board, well, we'll form that long before the ship launches, but once we get this group put together, we're going to give them a menu of destinations and events, kind of similar to what I showed regarding the Monaco Grand Prix and the Cannes Film Festival and New Year's in Sydney Harbor and Carnival in Rio. So we'll make a list of all the top events in the world similar to those, and we'll list the dates next to them. And we'll let the residents vote and rank those on, which of those events are more important to them. Obviously, not everybody's going to get everything they want, but it'll give us some insights into where the ship needs to be when. And then we'll use a similar methodology to determine the ports between those major events. So we've got a system figured out. We haven't really done a deep dive into all of the events globally. And obviously we can only get so far in a particular year. So we're going to have to sit down.
If I can help you out here, Chris, based on experience on Odyssey, which has worked really well, and I think it'll work well in Lumina, you do get, a lot of times we provide the path first, right? So we do our first circumnavigation. I think someone asked, it's only 1 year, is it going to change to 2 to 3 years? From what we've learned on Odyssey, even though we have the blueprint, the map out of where we're going, we can't really release more than a year out because things change. And look what happened with the Middle East, for example. We had to remove the Middle East and then add more ports to fill that void because of what's happening around the world. The same will apply. Now, there's a lot of well-traveled people that are going to be on the ship, just like on Odyssey, for example, and they're going to have a lot of great ideas. Hey, how about we do this? How about we go here? How about we do this? And we will absolutely take those into consideration, right? I think it's very important for the residents to have a say in some things. For example, if you know of certain areas that you've been to before and you want to immerse yourself a little bit more, we will take that into consideration. Now, understand that we do have professional planners. One of our planners now that has joined our team. Oh, thank you, Dean. That has joined our team. He was a previous captain, and he's kind of he wanted kind of like a hobby, and now it's turned into something else, which has been amazing. So he has been planning our itinerary, putting our itinerary together. He has extensive experience. We're trying to put in things, related to regulations, what we can do, what the ship is capable of, where the ship can go that other ships can't. All of those things are have to be taken under consideration. But with that said, to what Chris was mentioning is once we have a nice little community of people, we're going to put a focus group together. Okay. And this is where you can say, listen, I want to make sure that there's a pickleball court on board, or I want to have certain foods on board, or, I want to go here. I want to add this to the itinerary in 2020, 2029. All of those different things that's important for you to have a say as a resident, because at the end of the day, you are living it. You are living this experience. So it's important for you guys to have a voice. With that said, it's within reason as well, because if we can't do it, there's reasonings behind it, but you're always welcome to have an input and a say in things that places you want to go and things you want to do, and also onboard amenities as well, which is, I'm sure it's very important for everyone.
Well,
And then,
very well
if you
said,
don't
Kathy.
mind, I want to zip through a couple of quick ones here.
Okay.
Somebody has asked about the Golden Passport and Endless Horizon. Those are not programs that we will be extending to Lumina. So those belong to the Odyssey program. It's better suited there. The Lumina will stick to the programs that it has currently. Okay. And then I think there was one more. Okay, those were the quick ones that I had. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure I
Oh,
get that out there.
no worries. In fact, you brought up a good point. The focus group that she mentioned, I call them an owners group, same thing, but
Owners group, yeah. Well, we can still fluff up the name too.
yeah, we'll work on that name. But anyway, they won't just be giving us input on itineraries. As Kathy mentioned, we've got a great blank slate here, right? We've got a blank canvas in the Navigator, and we've got the dry dock time. So we're going to get a lot of input from residents as that resident list grows. And yeah, it's like Kathy said, do we want a pickleball court? Do we want a golf simulator? Do we want to change the theme of one of the residences? Do we want to take one of the bars and make it into a British pub or a sports bar or whichever? We have that flexibility. And, there's a lot of things we can do in dry dock. And it'll get to a point where we can't really make any more changes to the plans, but we still have a lot of time. And we'll be able to pivot based upon input from residences. If we get a lot of requests for certain amenities on board, we have a lot of flexibility. So it's really, we think about this every day, that it's about the residents. It's all about the residents. Sure, all of us will spend some time on board, but we're not going to be the owners of the residences on these ships. So we really rely on the input from the residents, and we really want them to be happy and content and live their best lives. So we will certainly take into consideration everybody's input. And, our goal is to build a residential ship that everybody loves being on. That's our main focus. Just don't, if you're a member of the focus group, just don't ask about dogs. We'll be okay.
There's an interesting question here that says, will the crew have opportunities to share their very diverse cultures, which are likely to represent many countries that will not be visited by the ship? That's a very interesting question. The we do have, and I'm going based off of Odyssey, of course. We do have a diverse group of crew, a lot, but they're mainly in the Asian area for some places, and then we do have Europeans as well. The diverse cultures come with where we travel, not just the crew themselves. But the crew does have opportunities to share their cultures because they get a sense of family when it comes to the ship itself. On Odyssey, they love coming back to the ship because they like seeing the same familiar faces. So the crew is not just somebody that works for you. They're known by name, they're known by who they are, what they do, and they become friends and family to the residents themselves. So in that, it could very well be, this could be a resident initiative, which is what the residents do on Odyssey.
Yes, yeah. And I used to know this, but how many countries are represented on board Odyssey? It's a pretty large, significant number, right?
For
It's a good
crew or
question.
for residents?
Both, I guess. Yeah.
Mike, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, no, I don't know the answer to that actually, but I wanted to follow up with what you said, Kathy, about uh, the crew really becoming part of the community. The Odyssey is on its way to Manila. We'll be in Manila here in a few days, and in Manila we'll have over 100 family members from crew that
Actually,
will
200. It's
200.
200.
So it
Yeah.
was over 100, so it's 200 crew family members. They're joining the ship to see um, uh, to see their life away from home. This is unheard of in the cruise industry. I mean, you would never hear of a cruise ship having all of their family members coming to see where they work and how they are when they're away from home 3 to 9 months at a time. This is something that we actually pride ourselves in. We uh, really take care of our crew, and we pride ourselves in making sure that the crew welfare is well taken care of. When we took on the Odyssey, we reduced many of the crew, all of the crew cabins, from quads to doubles. So the most people have for roommates is one other roommate. Um, and we made sure they have TVs and they have time off and they have a, fair quality of life. And that's just one thing that exemplifies us over other cruise lines. We're not just about business, business, business. We're one giant family going around the world. And the crew really becomes part of that family.
Yes. Well said. And see, I didn't even know the part about the families coming on board. That's very nice. That's beautiful. Um, so that's going to bring us right up to about an hour. Um, I want to thank everybody again for joining us this evening. Lots of ways to reach us if you want to reach out. You can contact me directly. If you're already working with one of our sales associates, you're welcome to reach out to them. And we hope to hear from many of you and just to chat and tell you a little bit more go in a little more detail about the ship and the itinerary. And the itinerary will be available within the next couple of days online. So if you really want to see a more detailed version of it, it'll be available. And
Chris, I don't know if you mentioned the visit in Barcelona.
Oh, thank you, Mike. Yes, good
The
point.
big one.
So yes, so July 5th, we're going to host a tour of prospective purchasers on board Lumina. We're going to host them on the Navigator. Yes, it's not the ship that we're going to convert to. It's not the Lumina, but it gives people a sense of, the quality of the ship, the quality of the food, the quality of the service. It gives them a sense of the layout of the ship. We will have the chance to see the living spaces, even though those are going to be upgraded and updated. You kind of get a sense for, the level of quality, the size of the bathrooms, the size of the walk-in closet, all of these things that you can't really see from a photo. We've done this once before. We hosted a group in Auckland, New Zealand back in February. It's very successful. We have lunch on board during these tours, and we get together as a group afterwards later on that evening for dinner. And of course, it's Barcelona. It's early July. It's the perfect time to be in Barcelona. So if anybody wants to
Please
join us, you're welcome.
repeat the date, please. People are asking.
Yes, July 5th. The tour itself is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Location.
And it's going to be at the port of Barcelona, the cruise port of Barcelona. So you can reach out directly to me for more information on that, or if you'd like to go, I'll get you signed up. We'll just need a copy of your passport to get you registered to board the ship. And look forward to seeing many of you there. And thanks for the heads up, Mike. I had completely spaced that out. But I think we'll leave it there. Again,
Thank you everyone for joining. We
Yes,
appreciate it.
and thank you to the team for being on here as well. I appreciate it. Bye, everyone.